I am sorry, little ones, but we had a crisis again in the house. I know. I had somebody repairing my heat, and as usual, the salt container wasn't working, and now I can't get water pressure or really hot water. So, another day in the life. Let's get going, though. We are diagramming sentences today, if you can't believe it. I know. I worked very hard last night to make sure that we had everything ready for, except for the chalkboard, of course, for day 89. And the hot water, too. And look at my hair. Dear goodness gracious, no hot water. I did wash my body, though. So my body is nice and clean, even though I only had lukewarm water. I've got dishes in the sink. I had to boil water. That's what we do. When times are tough, we get tougher. I don't think that's the saying, but I think it works. Don't you think so? Are you one of those people that get tougher when times get tough? I do. And then I lose it. No, not yet. But boy, it is some trying times for everybody, isn't it? Not just me. Although, I would like to know why. Day 89. Why so much fervor over this property? Why so much? I don't know, but there's a reason for it. Early birds. But you know what? We're strong. We are strong, aren't we? Early birds, we are going to diagram. We're going to diagram sentences. Are you ready? Now, you're like, Dr. Feravich, you've been showing a lot of real enthusiasm over this diagramming sentences, and I don't really care about it. I'm so happy you care about it, but maybe I don't care so much. I'm going to show you why I care about it and why I think you should care about it. And I think you're going to get it. So let's get going. That's not it. All right. I left this up there from day 87. I gave you the parts of speech and the days that we talked about the parts of speech. What I did not cover this with you. So this is basically our last slide. I thought I covered all the slides that I had, but apparently I did not. This is basically our last slide. So that we had to talk about regarding verbs, all right? So verbs tell us three things. Three things. Tense, mood, and voice. We've already talked about active voice, right? So our verb tells us the action that is going on in a sentence. Why am I always starting at the bottom? I don't know. So we've talked about action, the subject doing the action. So we've talked about active voice. Let's go back at the top. We've also talked about tense, haven't we? Oh my gosh, she's all over the place today, isn't she? Don't give her a little bit of hot water, and then what happens? Hey, listen, let me tell you something. I got my hot water from, hope that wasn't running. I don't think it was. I got my hot water for my coffee, and that's what took me a little while. I was getting the dishwater going. I was figuring out my hair since I didn't have hot water, but I had to get my coffee. Delish. I know. Why does she always say delish? I don't know. All right, let's get going. So we talked about tense already as well. Past tense, present tense, and future tense. We have present and past perfect as well that we didn't talk about. And I'm not that worried about it. And the reason why I'm not that worried about it is honestly, I don't know enough about it to be worried about it. All right? And it has to do with both of them. One is called present perfect and the other one is called past perfect, and they both have to do with past tense. So let's just start right there. Why would you call it present perfect if it has to do with past tense? I don't know. Past tense indefinitely. Here's an example. Oh, no, sorry, no examples. Past tense indefinitely, past perfect. Or she was going to Riverside Elementary. Indefinite past tense. That's present perfect. What's past perfect? A specific time in the past. She went to. She went to Riverdale Elementary when she was 3, a specific time in the past. I don't know. What's most important is past, present, future. If you're going to be an English teacher, good luck with those perfects. Because you must be perfect in order to memorize those perfects and understand those perfects. I found English teachers to be perfect. I did. Mood. It also tells us about mood. So here's something new to us. Indicative, imperative, and subjunctive. I gave you 3 examples of those. The plants aren't growing well this year. Indicative means you're making a statement. And the statement can also be a question, but you're just sort of declaring something. You're indicating something. Are these flowers? Or these are the flowers. We call it also a declarative statement. We're just saying something. There's no mood behind it. That's what we're talking about, right? So indicative. It just indicates whatever I'm talking about. It doesn't indicate a mood. Imperative does, though. And the mood it's indicating is that it's important. It's imperative that you know this. Do it. So an imperative statement also demonstrates mood. anger, right? Oh, I'm so frustrated, right? That's more of an interjection. Imperative really means that to do something, to give action to it. But the point here is that our verbs help indicate mood as well. That mood can be, no mood at all. It can be important, imperative. Imperative means it's important. Or subjunctive. Subjunctive means to wish or hope. That's subjunctive. Subjunctive has to do with me, inside of me, right? Subjective, subjunctive. Inside of me, I wish or I hope, all right? So there's sort of a longing. There's a longing, and that's the mood for subjunctive, okay? Excelente. Look at how much we learned. That's a little bit step above. Now, I wanted to reintroduce our types of sentences, right? A simple sentence has just one independent clause, no dependent clauses, which means it can have prepositional phrases, right? But it has no dependent clauses. One independent clause, so there's a subject and a verb. A compound sentence is a sentence with two or more independent clauses, and they could be connected by a conjunction, or in this case, by punctuation. It's a semicolon, right? And a complex sentence has independent and dependent clauses. An independent clause stands alone, and a dependent clause needs the independent clause, but also has a subject and a verb. So why am I telling you about these again? Well, because what we're going to end up doing is we are going to just really diagram a simple sentence. Because in our compound and our complex sentences, the compound sentence is just two sentences joined by a conjunction. So if we can do the first sentence, a simple sentence, we can surely do the second sentence, a second simple sentence, right? So diagramming a compound sentence is just doing it twice, isn't it? For the first sentence and for the second sentence. When we've got a complex sentence, it's the same thing as a compound in that the clause, we've got an independent clause, simple sentence, right? So there again, we're diagramming a simple sentence. Then we have a dependent clause that is joined by a conjunction as well, right? Like when, here in this one, I think that's the one that I'm using. When the winter months were upon us, right? So connecting when the winter months were upon us, the house was finally finished. So there's our dependent clause, when the winter months were upon us. That's joined by the conjunction here, right? So again, what we have here is two sentences. One is a dependent sentence. It's dependent on in this case, in this sentence example here, dependent on the first part of the sentence, right? But it's still a sentence, basically a sentence. So what does that mean? What does that mean? It means we would diagram it just like a simple sentence connected with our clause when, and then another simple sentence. That's basically the gist of it, okay? All right, now I would like to thank, which I did not thank, I have two websites that I got this information from. No, sorry, not two websites, one website that I got this information from. Let's take a look at it. And then what that means is that you can play along too. Okay, let's do a little bit of this. And let's go to the top here. So this website is everything. Let me make sure you got it all nice and clear, which you don't, of course. It's clear, but it's not where you need it to be. Everything you need to know about sentencing, sentence diagramming with examples. And so I used my own examples and I sort of brought it down a little bit, but it gives you all the information that I needed in order to teach you how to diagram sentences. So what is a sentence diagram? What grammatical components you should be able to identify before, that's not grammatically correct, seriously. Should you be able to identify before diagramming? And so these are basically the parts of speech, but with a little bit more concepts, with a few more concepts, right? Like the direct object and the indirect objects, which we talked about, is a part of speech. What part of speech is it? It is a noun. They are nouns. Indirect object, direct object is the noun, right? So we learned those. So we've got the subject noun or noun form. It could be a pronoun, right? The verb, we've got the direct object, the indirect object, the preposition, a modifier, which can be an adjective or an adverb. Those are our descriptors, right? They describe things for us. Our articles, a, and the, right? In a positive. Now we've got something that we haven't heard before. And a positive is a noun or noun phrase and is a special kind of modifying component. A positives further identify or even rename another noun for descriptive purposes. So that could be Sandy, our team captain. That's in a positive, right? Our team captain. It re-describes Sandy for us. All right. So that's helpful, although that really is a modifier. It's just a modifier is all that it is. A special name for a modifier, right? Just like direct object and indirect object are special names for nouns. Conjunction. Subordinate clauses contain a subject and a predicate but need to join an independent clause to form a complete sentence. These can include both noun clauses and infinitive clauses. So we've learned about these clauses, right? But again, they contain a subject and a predicate. So in the end, it's a second part of a sentence that ends up getting diagrammed in the same way as a simple sentence. And then gerunds, we haven't talked about gerunds in a long time. They are verbs that act as nouns using the participle or ing form. And those are one and the same. Ing, she was running. Running as a noun. He's why all of a sudden can't I think of one? Because I want to use running, and I know that I can use running as a noun, but I'm not. Like I was like the running man, but that's an adjective, right? Isn't it? Right? So we can go through. But do you see what ends up happening when you're trying to identify and diagram a sentence? What this does is it makes you do a little bit. It makes you dig a little bit for what you know, for the knowledge that you know about your parts of speech, right? So this really does help give you the confidence that you know what you're talking about, grammatically speaking. See, I don't have the confidence because I didn't give you a good, I couldn't give you a good gerund. Now I try to think of starting. Or what's another one? Claiming. I don't know. But you can use them as nouns. So, All of a sudden I can't think. And I should get my encyclopedia to do it, but we're moving on. We're going to move on. And normally I wouldn't do that. Normally I wouldn't move on. Normally I would give that to you. But gerunds are another one of those things. You want to know them. I know what they are, right? I know it's an ing form of a word that's used as a noun. Lighting. There we go. There we go. Lighting. The lighting in this place stinks. Oh, I did it. So you can know, but sometimes that you don't have the confidence or the knowledge base to be able to give you an example that quickly, right off the cuff like that. But do you see how that challenges you to go into thinking a little bit deeper on this? And then I'm like, see, I told you I know what a gerund is. I told you. Ugh, you didn't believe me. Okay. Now, I have got this sentence that I want to use because it is an example of a direct object. So that's a little bit of a review, remember? We've done this a couple times, so I'm sure you remember. Jimmy gave his girlfriend, what did he give his girlfriend? That's the direct object. A ring. He could have given her a card. That would have been the direct object on Valentine's Day. So we need to know our direct objects and our indirect objects, because that is where we start. Basically, we start with the subject and the verb first. So what I told you I was going to do. Oh, hey, listen, we haven't finished this over here. And then I took the 5 steps of diagramming a sentence from this website. And as you can see, we get progressively more advanced. And in fact, it has advanced rules for diagramming sentences and examples. Now, I didn't go into the advanced rules, but look at what we have there. Can you read that sentence? Oh, let me hide it. Can you read that sentence? She seems happier, what? After the breakup. Look at that. We have a linking verb there. There's a linking verb there, and that's a little bit different than a direct object. Can you read that sentence? I don't see the dog there. The dog brought me the ball in the morning. We haven't added our articles to that sentence yet. There we go. The dog brought me his old ball in the morning. Look at that. Look at that. And when we take a look at that, we can see the is the article that we added. That describe. Remember, it's an adjective. It's an article, but it's an adjective. It's the specific dog, right? There's my direct object, ball. My indirect object is me. My modifier is his old ball. Those are adjectives. His ball, old ball. It tells me which ball, doesn't it? His ball, old ball. And then in the morning is telling me when it was brought, so it is modifying brought. It's telling me when. In the morning is like acting as an adverb there, right? It's acting as an adverb there because it's telling me when. Remember, adverbs can tell us when, right? Look at that. We were able to read a sentence from having that sentence diagrammed. Come on. I don't understand why I click on something and it's not grabbed. And then I've got something else grabbed. How do I have something else grabbed when I didn't even click on it? So look at that. What a wonderful ability. And we can understand, not only can we just take a look at that diagrammed sentence, but we can understand why the is on the side of the dog, why his old's on the side of the ball, and why in the morning, although it's in morning isn't it? What about that prepositional phrase? In morning the. What about that prepositional phrase? Well, The modifies morning, doesn't it? What's the most important part of a prepositional phrase? The preposition or the object of the preposition that I can read clearly. Morning, there's our preposition. What preposition did you decide to use? In. And the is the article that describes morning. So of course it would be referencing morning. I need to know where that article goes to. It goes to the. I need to know where the preposition goes to. It goes to morning, in the morning. Right? Right? Do you see why I like diagramming sentences? I hope that you do. I hope that you do. Okay. So, as I was saying, you can see here now we get to, look at this. What do we have here? Compound subjects. Bill and Mary, or in this case, both the teacher and the student. Did you read that? Could you read that? Both. Because we said it in a compound subject, there's our two subjects, both the teacher and the student. Look at that. What? I can't read it. Wanted a half day. There's our article. There's our object. What did they want? They wanted a half day. We don't have an indirect object, do we? Interesting. Compound predicates. We will not lose, but might not win. Look at that. How's that for you? Compound sentences. I told you, just like simple sentences joined by what? Well, in this case, it's a comma. English is a good language, but Spanish is easier. I don't see the but there, so it must be that latter. If you are diagramming a compound sentence with two independent clauses, diagram each clause individually and then connect their verbs with a dotted line that looks like a step. On the horizontal part of the dotted line, write the conjunction. The conjunction wasn't written there, right? So on that horizontal line, the line that goes this way, like the horizon, right? Horizontal, vertical, horizontal. On the horizontal line, there should have been the word but, because right there it looks like it was divided by a semicolon, doesn't it? English is a good language. Semicolon Spanish is easier. Let's look now at our rules. Diagramming a sentence, step number 1. Identify and separate with the line the subject from the predicate. And this is not the complete subject. This is basically your subject and your verb. So what I told you I was going to do is not use a simple example, although I am going to use our simple example here as well. Jimmy gave his girlfriend a ring on Valentine's Day. But I told you that I wanted to use an everyday sentence. So I took the second sentence, not the first one. The first one was a little more difficult. And we didn't need to start with except this, but that. Oh, look at that. This one is different because I didn't want to start with that, although I did want to start with an everyday sentence. And so this is the second sentence in our online reference here. So the second sentence right here is a sentence diagram is a visual representation of a sentence's structure and its words function. So if you look here, you can see that is The second sentence, this is the one that we are diagramming. Our sentence diagram is a visual representation of a sentence's structure and its words function. Okay? So we're challenging ourselves with a real world sentence from a reference paper. How about that? Okay. So what did we say? The step number 1 was identify and separate with a line the subject from the predicate. So we're going to do that. So we've got diagram is. This dividing line goes through the baseline. So there's our subject diagram. There's our verb. It's a linking verb. So we might have something a little different to do here. Remember I said I didn't want to start with a whole bunch of, but this is different. But this is different because we're using a real world sentence. Step number 2, add the direct object. In the case of a linking verb, add the predicate noun or predicate adjective. We're assuming we have more complex sentences with predicate nouns and descriptors and modifiers as we do. So a sentence diagram is a visual representation of a sentence's structure and its words functions. So we've got is, what is linking to? What is it linking? We said here it's a predicate noun or a predicate adjective. So it should be describing diagram. Diagram. What is, well, a visual representation. So what is it? It is a representation. So now we've got, instead of a direct object, we have got our linking predicate noun in this case. Representation is a noun. The line is slanted. This line is slanted when you have a linking verb. The line is straight when there is a direct object. So let's take a look at our other example. Jimmy gave his girlfriend a ring on Valentine's Day. There's our verb, right? There's our direct object, ring. So we would diagram this sentence as Jimmy is our subject. We are dividing our subject and our verb, gave, with a straight line that goes all the way through the base. When we indicate it's a direct object, we also use a straight line there in diagramming, but that line also does not go through the baseline, just like it didn't go through the baseline when we had a predicate noun in this case, or a predicate adjective, which could be the diagram is red. That would be a predicate adjective, right? Okay, so we are diagramming a very simple sentence and a much more complex sentence, right? But there's our simple sentence using a direct object. Step number 3, add the indirect object. This goes under the verb connected by a diagonal line. Let's take a look at that. We're using our complex sentence, which does not have a direct object. But if it did, it would go there. The DO would go underneath the verb connected by a diagonal line. See that? Okay. This is our simple sentence that does have a direct object and an indirect object, as you recall. So Jimmy gave his girlfriend, there's our direct object. The ring is our indirect object. So just like we said, if we had a direct object, it would go on that horizontal line connected by a slanted line, just like in this simple sentence. Diagramming sentences, step number 4. Add prepositional phrases. And again, what are we doing? We are using these steps. Step number 1, diagram the subject and main predicate verb first. Add the direct object. Then add the indirect objects. Put the prepositions in place. And what they did here was they put the prepositional phrases in place, not just the prepositions in place. So I said add the prepositional phrases. So here we've got our example. A sentence diagram is a visual representation of a sentence's structure and its words functions. Can you see a prepositional phrase there? It's a long one, isn't it? Joined by an and of a sentence's structure and its words functions. So we've got something to add over here, don't we? Look at that. Look at what we did. We connected this by an and. So we've got our word of. I should have had all those modifiers on there. Well, maybe I should, because we need to have the complete. So we added the modifiers because each one of these of sentence of the structure would be a pretty normal prepositional phrase that we would put on there. Of the structure, right? Structure would be on the line. Of would be the preposition on the slanted line. And the would be the modifier for structure. Of the structure. That is much more of a normal prepositional phrase, like in the morning. Of the structure. But you needed to know more. It just wasn't a play structure. It was a sentence structure. And then we've got the article there, right? But we're not just talking about of the sentence structure, but we're talking about of the function. Of the sentence, of the function. I mean, of the structure, of the function. What kind of structure? A sentence structure. What kind of function? I was looking at the article. The words function. Joined by what? Joined by the and. So the two objects of the preposition of, the two objects, structure and function, the two objects of the preposition of is joined by the conjunction and. How about that? How about that? The other words there, the words are modifiers of functions, and sentences are modifiers of the type of structure that we're talking about. Look at what you're learning. Look at not what you're learning. All you're learning is how to diagram it. Look at what you've learned. Look at what you've learned. Okay. Add modifiers and articles, which we already did for our prepositional phrases. We added those modifiers, right, and articles. The modifier sentences, the modifier words, right, and the articles oh, that's a pronoun. I'm sorry, I thought it said and the words functions, but it's its. So it's its. That's a modifier, a pronoun modifying what functions? Its functions. All right. Now we've got the rest of the modifiers and articles. A sentence diagram is so we also have a visual. Those are modifiers of what? of representation. A sentence diagram is a visual representation of a sentence's structure and its words' functions. How about that? How about that? All of this time since we began, this really was my goal, because now you know that you know. You know that you know grammar. Oh, we're done. In a half year, you know everything you need to know about grammar, and likely then some for you to be able to pass your GED in grammar. Now, you have to be able to apply what you've learned, right? This is an application. This is a great application. We talk about Bloom's taxonomy. What do you remember about adjectives, verbs, adverbs, right? What do you understand their meanings to be? How have you applied those meanings so that you demonstrate knowledge, right? How did you do? Evaluation. Create something more complicated. And then you continue to learn, right? We talked a lot about Bloom's taxonomy in our critical thinking class. So go back, if you go back to our actually day 1, 2, 3, that's where we started our critical thinking class. So let me see what else I have here, because I know I have, no! We got done with all of our diagramming, our sentences, and just a real knowledge of knowing our grammar. This is Dr. Annette Feravich, and this happy smile doesn't have to do with the fact that I don't have any hot water right now after those criminals were downstairs in my basement. I have hot water. It's just it's hardly any water pressure again, and I asked him to look at the dial and just read it, and he spent 15 minutes playing with the dial, and now where's my hot water? I have heat, so there's no reason I shouldn't have hot water. Wah, wah. Although, I don't know. Trav, I got to check the gas. DTE, Trav. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I'm the teacher. Thanks so much for joining me here in the classroom, our early bird classroom.